Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of Don's lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
Today is a good day, my friend. And I gotta let you know, man, today's a special day in both of our hearts to one of our favorite podcast guests that we've had thus far. It is none other than Dr. Tony Dawson's birthday today.
Wow. You know, Tony, I haven't known him obviously as personally as you have, but from my brief conversations with him going back to Harvard Court days, and even, of course, as you mentioned, the great episode that he guest featured on.
Yep.
It's been wonderful. He is such a pleasure to speak with, and he's just so knowledgeable about all things in life, you know, not just his bread and butter, you know, virology, but he knows a lot about aliens. I think he's come in contact with aliens at some point in his life.
Pretty sure.
And he's just a very good conversationalist. So shout out to him. We hope to have him back on the podcast anytime he's willing. We're ready.
Yeah, whenever he's ready to grace us with his presence, it'll be fantastic. It'll be a gift for all of us listeners. And I say that as us because when he speaks, you know, you got to listen to him.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of nonsense that flows out of this mouth right here. But
both of our mouths.
but when the doctor speaks, there's very rarely a word that is wasted. So, you know, happy birthday, Tony. Glad you made it. 32. Working hard over in the East Coast now. Hopefully things open up so you could begin to enjoy the life that the ANI have been, for better or worse, in for the past couple years now. And you know, that's the working life, man. It's tough, dude. I was thinking today at work, you know, I was talking to some of my coworkers, and you know, in the government, at least where I work, I'm surrounded by an older bunch, you could say. I'm one of maybe a handful of young people there out of a office of like 200 people or something of that sort. And it's different, man, because our ideologies are definitely different, and our approach to life in and of itself is different, especially when I, you know, talk about my past.
And a very checkered past at that.
yeah. Because I'll be talking to them, and you know, I'll give them my accolades, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's impressive." And then about a weekend of just talking to me normal, they're like, "Whoa, yeah, I can see why he ended up here."
Don't say that. Come on.
But yeah, man, I mean, working in government it's fantastic. But, you know, I got to give it up to those that lead my government. We got to talk about the federal government right now.
Great segue.
I set that one up.
I like it.
Our buddies in the House and the Senate have finally passed I believe it's the third stimulus round.
That's right.
The third one. And I believe tomorrow or Friday, or rather when you're listening to this, we should at least, you know, be in line, whether through direct deposit or waiting by the mailbox, as I will be, for that stimulus check. That stimulus check. It's coming in. It's coming in hot. And because of my, I guess, lack of business work last year due to COVID, and due to my pay cut that I took for my changing of jobs, we qualify for that threshold that's required. Nice. So I'm feeling good.
I like it. Now, frankly, I don't know what the new threshold is, because I know they keep like lowering the bar every time, or I guess raising the bar depending on how you look at it. But I just recall from the first check, I remember getting an actual check, right? Like the first stimulus was a real check.
You got a real check? Mine was direct deposit.
I guess I didn't have it set up. I don't know exactly what I needed to do to get it directly into my
Sure, sure.
Chase. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a check, and I remember I was proud of it too. Like it was cool. Like it was like, oh yeah, here we go.
Hmm.
And it was signed by Trump and everything. And there was a letter that came with it. I don't know if you got the letter. You probably did. It was
Maybe,
like
maybe it went right into the trash. If anything,
oh, there you go. That's the right way to handle it. I think so. So then that's the first one. And the second one was weird. I thought it was spam or something because I opened up my mail and there was some kind of like credit card in there. And I
ah.
was like, what?
Oh,
And then I
were
looked.
you furloughed at all this year?
No, I wasn't. But it
Huh.
was like it wasn't a credit card, obviously, but it was a debit card, like one of those Visa debit cards
Okay.
that I had to activate. And then
Huh.
once I activated, I could check my balance to see exactly how much I got in the second stimulus.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
was surprised they did it that way. It was a very, a very, very interesting way. Like, and the whole time I was thinking, like, why don't I just have direct deposit? Like, at what time should I have done this?
Well,
Like,
I thought it was linked to when you did your taxes,
uh-huh.
and depending on how you received your refund or paid.
Oh, yeah. For that one, I think, I think, so the past couple of years, I've been using this, like I think the IRS has it. It's like this free service called freefillableforms.com or something. And you can essentially, if you're careful, you can do all the math yourself and all the number crunching and input the fields just directly on their website. And of course they do some like final check before you submit it, but I've been doing it that way. I don't think there was well, at least I don't think I signed up for direct deposit there. I remember getting um, a physical check in the mail like a month or two after I submitted it. So that's probably
Mm.
why. I think that makes sense. It's probably why. But in any case, first one was a check. The second one, second stimulus was a debit card. I'm curious to see what happens now. I think
They're
what's
just
the
gonna send
natural
you cash.
progression?
They're just gonna send you the cash.
Maybe,
Some
maybe,
old
maybe.
dollar bills too. They're like, yeah, these are run down. He'll use them. He'll use them.
Or maybe Biden will just directly Venmo me. Like he'll just
Yeah,
Venmo me.
right. Yeah, yeah, with like the finger guns too, as the finger gun
There you
emojis or
go.
something.
There you go. With the shades on the eyes, you know what I mean? You
Hey,
gotta have
and
the
you know what?
shade.
Whenever I see that picture, I
Uh-huh.
get happy, man. He looks like a G. Like he truly does seem like a modern cowboy.
He's I think Biden it may I hate to say it, but I think Biden may be best remembered as a VP, you
Oh
know?
man.
Like
Hmm.
but I
Too
mean it
too
in a
soon to
good
say.
way.
Too soon to say.
Perhaps. I just mean it in a good way because you think back on Obama's 8 years and Biden was always like his bro, right? Like
Oh
for lack
yeah.
of a better
Yeah.
word.
Do you remember all those memes that would come up?
Oh
Where...
yeah. I mean, I still look at him today. Like they come up from time to time. It's fantastic. And I think a lot of us were introduced to Biden during that time. Prior to that, yeah, I know he was a senator, but did you really know about Joe Biden before that? Probably not.
yeah.
I certainly didn't.
To be honest, I can't name honestly any senators right now for sure because I've been through quite a bit of drinking to celebrate our buddy's birthday who turned 32 today.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Tony!
Happy birthday, Tony. We love you, man.
So, but I can't name any. Same with the house, man. Like I don't know. Give me a
Well,
multiple choice, and I'll take a
okay.
stab at it.
Let's take a stab at it. So, who do you think? I know it's kind of a split Senate, but who do you think is the Senate Majority Leader, assuming that the Democrats have majority?
The Senate isn't that what's her name? Pelosi?
Ooh, and we have to revoke your citizenship right there, Don,
Hey man, I was
because
born here. You can't take that away.
that's true. That's true. You have a constitutional right. That's right. So, listeners who are better informed than Don will know,
Which is everyone.
Nancy. No, I wouldn't say that. But Nancy Pelosi is actually the leader of the House. She is the Speaker of the House, right? So, House of Representatives has the Democratic majority, and she owns that one.
Oh,
But on the other side, on the Democratic side for the Senate, I believe it's Chuck Schumer. Have you heard of that name
a
before?
solid
Chuck
name.
Schumer?
A solid name.
Solid name, Chuck. Well, we do like another Chuck. That is Charles Barkley. Nickname for Charles. Great guy.
Oh wait, it's not Barkley.
Oh no, it's not Barkley. No, it's a much shorter, older version of Barkley that never played basketball.
Damn.
But so those are the two top dogs, I would say. But then you probably have heard of this Republican senator, I believe he's a senator, that's been making some waves recently.
Eminem.
A close cousin of Eminem, actually. His
Mm.
name is Hawley. I think his last name's Hawley,
Huh.
and his first name might be like John Hawley or something. And he's essentially like the new kind of rising star. I know you like your rookies in the
I love
NBA.
him. I love him.
He is the rising star of the GOP. Josh Howley. Is it Josh Howley or John Howley? Well, I'm Googling Howleys and it's like random people. It's like random white people from history. No, yeah, it's Josh Howley. Josh Howley. Here we go. So he's
Random
a
white people from history.
yeah. It's just I don't know. I just saw these dudes with glasses. I'm like, that's not it. That's certainly not it. But now
Dudes with the glasses.
I mean, hey man, I'm just I don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reading Google for it for the audience right now. So Josh Howley, U.S. senator, age 41 years old. So it's a very young guy, very young guy. Went to Yale and Stanford, which is interesting. I guess he got some upper education there. He's a senator from, it looks like, Montana since 2019. And essentially, you know how the Republican Party has to basically make a big decision, right? After losing in the election and losing a couple of seats in the Senate, they have to decide, do they continue with Trump as their leader and the face of the party, or do they try to distance themselves and try to reinvent them, right? Try to have a new brand, new identity for the GOP. Well, Josh Howley initially was thought to be one of the leaders in that new era of the GOP. But recently, I don't know if you know that the CPAC is. Have you heard about that before? The CPAC?
Yeah, C-SPAN. They have their own TV channel on cable. Talk about money. Usually like channel 85-ish, something like that.
Well, you're actually you're not close at all. So I think you might have misheard me. CPAC is the Conservative Political Action Conference. Okay, so yeah,
of course, of course.
of course, of course. So it happened recently, I think just a couple of weeks ago, and you might have heard this was like Trump's first appearance in the public spotlight. And, of course, he kind of talked about the usual stuff, bashing Joe Biden, bashing liberals and Democrats and all that. And I think Josh Howley, this young senator, was also there. And he kind of echoed a lot of the sentiments of Trump. And he was even talking about doing things like breaking up big tech, like
Really?
breaking up Amazon, Facebook, and all that. And it's interesting because I'm only reciting this because I listen to NPR from time to time, and they were doing kind of a not necessarily an expose, but kind of like just a summing up of what Josh Howley has been up to, and they were interviewing a lot of his like teachers from like Yale and Stanford and whatnot, and they're like, when he was a student in my class, he was a very nice young man. I don't know why he's so angry now. Every time I turn on the TV, he's like really riled up and angry, and I can't even recognize the guy anymore. And so it made me think, you know, do you think a lot of people in life, and especially politics, have to be kind of social climbers forever? Like once they establish some kind of stature, they're looking for the next rung of the ladder. They're reaching higher and higher. And sometimes, if you really want to get to where you want to be, especially in politics, you almost have to change who you are. You have to go with the ebb and flow of society and see, what kind of policy or rhetoric you can use to curry favor in your own goals and your own ambitions. I feel like Josh Howley is one of those characters, and clearly, you haven't really heard much about him. It's probably the first time you're hearing about him at all for me. But do you think the Republican Party needs a new face right now, or do you think they should pretty much follow Trump for for what? I don't know what, but how do you feel about the future of the Republican Party?
Sure. Yeah. No, I think it's difficult to say,
Mm.
because given that I think Trump was acquitted, right? What, in January, something like that.
Yeah.
There is a possibility of him running again for one more term.
Mm.
Now, last I read about any of this, if Trump were not to be selected by Republicans to at their head, he was going to form his own party, which would, in and of itself, kind of split the Republican vote, thus kind of, ending the chance of the Republicans taking over. Um, I think time will tell. Well, it obviously will, right? But I don't think it would be
Hmm.
wise for the Republicans to move past Trump if Trump still holds these notions of wanting to become president again. I think he holds way
Hmm.
too much appeal to his fans that it would be detrimental to the party if he's still around. So I think it's wise to at least play the field and see what you have available.
Hmm.
But just know on that pitching mound, you got Trump just waiting. He's not giving up the ball just yet.
Well, carrying along with that beautiful analogy there to baseball, what if Trump is okay being the manager? What if he's okay being the coach? And he's bringing with him, 4 years of the presidency. He's bringing with him all the support and fervor that came with his presidency, and he's just putting it behind a younger AAA talent. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Like, what
sure.
if?
But
Yeah,
how
yeah.
how would he be that? Because then he would essentially have to run the party itself. And those that run the party, I'm sure we can't even know. They're hidden behind very very thick walls that no reporter can get to. I would say. And when we do
Well,
identify someone, I'm sure there's another level or two beyond that.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and you're right. Trump wouldn't necessarily be, the key
Hmm.
decision maker in the GOP, but in the same way that Obama was used strategically during the Democratic campaign
I see what
for,
you're saying.
yeah,
I
yeah,
see what you're saying.
yeah,
Using him almost as a as a hype man, for
yeah,
lack of a
yeah,
better word.
and he's good at that. I mean, if
Um,
anything,
I mean,
he's good at creating a buzz.
definitely that. I wouldn't say hyping, but he's definitely eye catching.
Controversial.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He's hype is not the right word. You're right.
yeah.
It's a little bit different with him.
And
I don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
think that would work. I don't think Trump
Mm.
would care for that payout just to do that. I think he wants the position. He wants to be.
He had it though.
Yeah, but he wants more. I think when you
Does he
get to
really?
I think when you get to a certain level, and to kind of circle back on something you brought up a little
Mm.
bit earlier,
Yeah.
as in all things in our careers, sometimes you become a certain way in order to reach a certain level.
Mm.
And Trump has been at that level. I don't think he's going to take a step back. He likes the limelight, and he's going to
Mm.
hold on to it. I don't
Mm.
think there's any other place he would want to be other than right dead center of that spotlight.
Mm. I think there's probably a narcissistic and very self-centered side of him, which is
Probably.
maybe the number one and only side that that
There we go.
that wants this, right? That definitely wants to have the power, the spotlight, and all the
Sure.
credit and accolade and the glory. But you also have to wonder, you know, Trump understands that, every king must die, right? Kings die, and
Does
then
he?
I think he has to understand it. I'm not saying that he currently does, but I think with time he'll have to reach that conclusion. I know there's a lot of people out there that think, you know, they never have to give up power, right? I mean, we can talk about world leaders. We can talk about Vladimir Putin. We can talk about, President Xi. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of characters out there
Those are
that
my dudes.
those are your boys. I know. I see you rolling deep with
Hey
them,
man,
three deep.
I'm fucking trying, man. Those are the guys you want in your pocket.
I suppose so. I suppose you do. But Biden may not like that, though. Your boy Biden, may not be.
It's all right. He'll put his shades on and he'll probably be napping. It's all good.
He'll put his shades on and be napping. I like that. Um, I guess, like you said, time will tell what the Republican Party will do. It is just interesting for me at a high level to understand the strategy, right? To understand like how these very very big and powerful, political parties move forward after such a heavy loss, and we will see as the months go on. Biden, so far I haven't really seen much of the guy. I mean, obviously I'm not keeping up with him every day like I was with Trump and his tweets and all that.
Hmm.
I just know that Kamala Harris, sometimes she's been taking calls with
Hmm.
these foreign leaders all by herself, Like Biden's probably asleep by that point, and so Kamala has to be like, "All right, Joe, don't worry, I got you."
It's the afternoon siesta. That's what it is.
Well, the afternoon siesta turns into a nap and a sleep, just the overnight hibernation, I suppose. But it's an interesting dynamic because I think this may be the first time where we look at the vice presidential role a little bit differently. I think in years past, in administrations past, you've had the Dick Cheneys of the world, you've had Joe Biden, even you've had just all these different VPs that Mike Pence that really didn't do much, and they weren't in the spotlight, and they weren't really expected to do much either. Whatever they were in charge of, whatever they're responsible for, they kept it low key. I think initially the Democratic Party was trying to do that with Kamala Harris, but maybe because of Biden's maybe physical limitations, I don't want to say mental, that's rude, that's mean, but let's say because of his physical limitations, he needs more sleep. The man, he needs to go to bed by 7 or 8, have his cup of milk, and then, go to sleep.
No, and you
s-
know what?
yeah.
To stop this.
Stop.
I think what happened. Yeah, just stop.
Okay. Yes.
I think it's one of those. I mean, we're so used to President Trump hugging the spotlight. Everything the presidential cabinet did revolved around Trump, and that's just because he was that person that you could definitely get a soundbite from, no matter what. I think the same rings true for our current presidential cabinet. Joe Biden doesn't seem to be a loud, obnoxious person compared to Kamala. So I think that the media.
Whoa. Let's kind of reassess how you frame that sentence. Joe Biden doesn't appear to be a loud, obnoxious person compared to Kamala.
Yeah.
Is that some shade?
No, well, no. It's just truth.
Ooh.
Well, it's dude, like you said, man, he's sleeping all the time. Come on, it's kind of not hard to be a little more obnoxious than someone that's knocked out. So,
okay.
I think what
Carry
happens
on.
is that the media is able to grab a better story of what the vice president is doing just because there's more sound bites to capture. I think that vice presidents have been doing many things. They just haven't gotten the spotlight. And like you mentioned how when Joe Biden or Pence was vice president, we didn't hear much about him. We didn't, and that's because they had a strong presidential force in front of them that was able to speak as eloquently as Obama did, or rattle as many people as Trump did. I don't see Joe Biden having that effect. So I believe that his vice president, our vice president, is able to do that more so than Joe Biden can. And that's why we could see her doing more than we probably normally would any other vice president.
That's fair. I think in that respect, maybe she was the best choice for VP, to kind of have the
yin and yang.
Yeah. There you go.
It's because they're white and black.
that certainly has a little bit to do with it. I think what was flashing in my head when we both said yin and yang at the same time, the SoCal DNA logo.
Yeah, but I was like, that's purple and gold. That's a little different.
But there's still white and black in there. Inside the...
Yeah, and I was gonna make a racist comment like, yeah, that'd be like Andrew Yang and who the heck? Well, what's purple? If there is any other race, what would be purple?
Like Barney, like the dinosaur. Let me think about
Strong answer.
It was an incorrect answer. Let me think about this. Purple. I think I don't want to get into that conversation. I'm gonna just take a step back.
Damn, I tried, guys.
You tried.
I tried.
I dug the hole. I gave a funny answer too, so I think I passed that test. That's for sure.
Oh,
man.
Man.
By the way, I don't know if you. I mean, in interest of full disclosure, I don't keep up with this topic at all. But do you know who Harry and Meghan are?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Exiles of the royal family
Exiles is an interesting way to put it. Yeah. So I just gotta say,
Sure.
I mean, interest of full disclosure. Yeah, I have interest in foreign politics, especially UK politics, but
Sure.
I just never gave a damn about the royals. To be perfectly honest, it's just not
Okay.
something that intrigued me. But I've been kind of forced to pay attention to what happened over the weekend because I think uh, who was it? Yeah, Harry and Meghan. They did this interview, this bombshell of an interview with
With
Oprah
Oprah.
Winfrey.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was in America, of course, because they're both here in California, living
Are
a
they? I
very.
thought they were in Canada.
They were in Canada, but then they moved to California.
Oh, good for
So
them. Good for
they're
them.
they're they're living a good life. It's a different life, different pace for sure. But I didn't watch the interview, but I was watching the reaction from one gentleman across the pond by the name of Piers Morgan. Have you
Mm.
heard of that name, Piers
Mm.
Morgan?
Oh, I,
No.
I haven't seen him on TV today, so I don't know.
He's so Piers Morgan, for those that don't know, he's kind of like a host, right? He's a very popular TV host and
He's like
presenter.
he's like our Wolf Blitzer.
I think that may be doing Piers a disservice, but I think fewer people know who Wolf Blitzer is
What do you
than
mean, man? The gray fox or the white fox at this point? Come on.
uh, yeah, I know what you mean. Clearly, Don, you're a fan of CNN, and that's coming through loud and clear. But Piers was on CNN before. I think you're right to make that
Yep.
connection.
Yeah, he was.
He kind of failed as a anchor on American shows,
It's
so
kind of.
yeah, so he had to be, sent back to across the pond back to England. And in England, I think he always felt like he's a big fish in a small pond. And so he's able to do whatever he wants. The guy, you know, until recently, which I'll explain why, he's been part of this show called Good Morning Britain.
Hmm.
And it's a show that goes, I think, every day, like Monday through Friday. But Piers only works like 3 days a week. Somehow he got a great deal.
Atta
Like
boy.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he comes in and then he just deuces it, right? He just pieces out on Thursday, never even shows up. And he takes many vacations throughout the year. And one thing that's very, very clear about Piers Morgan, he's a controversial figure. He's going to be the type that rattles you, that really interrogates you during interviews. And he's kind of you know, unrelenting. He will really try to get the answers he's looking for, and he'll cut you off. He'll interrupt you all the time. So he's a tough interviewer, right? Really tough interviewer. And he's kind of annoying too to some people. I find it entertaining. Other people find it annoying. But so I say all this to set up that one of his strongest opinions that he holds is that he's just anti Meghan Markle. I think they had some kind of friendship many years ago, and Meghan probably just cut him off. And ever since then, he's just been anti Harry and Meghan. Anytime there's kind of like article that's out or interview that's out, he always takes the stance that, oh, Meghan is like an awful human being. And it really came to a head earlier this week because in reaction to that interview by Oprah Winfrey, you probably heard there's a lot of bombshells that were dropped, a lot of claims of racism, a lot of accusations were made, claims of racism for people inside the royal family. Like they didn't really specify who, and Pierce was just on one. Like from the clips that I was watching the other day, he was just battling anybody that was brought onto the show to talk about this. And even his co host was disgusted by his behavior. And I didn't watch this clip, but apparently he stormed off the set because he was so fed up with people on his own show just combating against him, battling against him, and saying, "Oh no, you have to be more sympathetic toward Meghan Markle and all that." And he storms off, and the very next day, I just see like breaking news: Piers Morgan quits Good Morning Britain, like he's
Yep.
done with the show,
Yeah.
and that surprised me, and I just think, are you surprised that this couple, who are really no longer connected to the royal family, like they decided to distance themselves on purpose, are you surprised that this couple is making big waves? Like, why are they having such a huge reaction all over the world? Obviously, in England, you expect it, but even in America, a lot of people are, they have a different view. They're mostly supportive of Meghan and Harry, and
Hmm.
and they're siding with them and against the royals.
Hmm.
But why do you think this couple has so much media sway? Like, why do regular people care about them?
I think a lot of people care about the royal family, at least from a distance, and they'll
Mm,
keep in touch with headlines that happen.
mm,
Meghan is a beautiful figure that many thought shouldn't have even had the opportunity to join the royal family for many
mm,
reasons that we won't get into.
mm,
Um, I think they're headline worthy because they basically gave up their titles in order to live their life the way they wanted to without the scrutiny that normally comes from being a part of a royal family.
mm,
Unfortunately, once you're part of it, it's kind of hard to leave it given how important that bloodline is for the history of the world, especially in Europe. I think they're able to easily catch those headlines just because of that association with it. Regardless of your stature or your respectability within the royal family, you're still a part of it. And because you have left it, that puts even a bigger target on your back
mm,
because now you've totally brandished, or rather, you've let go of all ties, supposedly, quote unquote, right? Quote fingers.
mm,
But yet you're still reaching these headlines. It doesn't help that you want to live a more quiet life if you're willing to get a damn interview with one of the most loved women in the world right now, Oprah Winfrey.
mm.
Anything Oprah does seems to get millions upon millions, if not billions, of views over the life of the recording. So I think it's relatively easy for them to reach that. And given that Megan is biracial and the child will then be multiracial over, as it's, is it born yet? I don't even know if it's born yet. This is how disconnected I
The,
am. All right.
the
Oh.
the child who is named Archie is
Mm-hmm.
born. Yes,
Oh,
yes, he's
born.
born.
So poor Archie. Poor Archie's already in the spotlight, and poor Archie probably doesn't even know how to stand up yet. So
Well,
it's
he'll probably have people doing that for him.
oh,
Just
no, no, they're not part of the royal family though, but somehow they got the money. Hmm.
mm,
Um,
mhm,
it's just unfortunate. These are all just headlines for people to grab onto. Why people care beats me. I can give two shits about it. Because these people just wanted to live their lives, according to what I know. So let them live their lives. I was
mm,
never a fan of show or what is it, real TV or reality TV, like the Kardashians, where you follow people's life and basically nitpick at every little thing that goes on, or whatever the damn producer decides to snip it together for an hour show or 2 hour show in some cases.
mm.
Why? Why does it matter? Let them have their piece. If that's what they wanted and ultimately wanted, respect that. But if this was their play to seek more limelight outside of Europe, well, it's
Mm.
certainly working.
It is, and I think that's where the point of contention comes in. But I think sometimes people want a different path in life, and maybe they're stuck. Maybe they want to find a way out, and that's exactly what our old buddy, who used to play for your probably most hated team ever, the LA Clippers, Blake
Mm,
Griffin,
mm.
has done recently.
LA streets.
Um, LA streets represent. So, Blake Griffin has not had, to say it lightly, a good last couple of years. I think he's been struggling in more ways than one. And
The back hurts, man.
yeah, yeah, the back, the knees, the elbows, everything pretty much hurts at this moment. So Blake has been on Detroit for a couple of years now, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but the last time Blake Griffin dunked the ball was back in 2019.
Strong season.
Well, perhaps, perhaps. But ever since then, I mean, it's been abundantly clear he does not have the Skywalker ability, the tremendous hops that made him so famous and that allowed him to catch the lob from Baron, who was protruding from the moonroof of a Kia and finishing over that hood of the car like a glorious phoenix rising from the ashes. I mean, that was a beautiful, beautiful dunk, and I believe they even had like a church group just singing hallelujah behind them. Like they just set that up so perfectly. Like dunk contests aren't like that anymore. And
They're
we can get
not.
into that. We can get into that later. But
Yeah.
essentially, Blake Griffin is a shell of his former self.
Sure.
And he decided to, kind of sacrifice a bunch of money and buy out his contract with the Pistons in order to sign with none other than the Brooklyn Nets.
Hmm.
And this move is very interesting. A lot of people love it. They say, "Oh, this is exactly what they needed. This shores up their bench. This allows them to have a big man who can score, who can make plays, another big body."
Mm.
Because DeAndre Jordan by himself can't really handle much offensively. But when you have Blake in there, maybe this gives you more offensive versatility.
Mm.
So then that's what some people say. Other people are saying this move does nothing at all for the Brooklyn Nets. Jeff Green at this point is a better overall player than Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin has nothing to give. He's a below average defender.
Mm.
He can't dunk anymore. He's a horrible shooter. There's nothing that he does that's additive. When you bring in Blake Griffin to the Nets, a lot of people argue he doesn't actually improve them in any way. And so now I bring it to you, Don, because we all know between the two of us, you know a thing or two about losing teams and players that are on the decline. Um, so what do you think? What do you think Blake Griffin will do for the Brooklyn Nets?
Well, I think for the city of Brooklyn, or rather the city of New York, I think it's a good move for him. Puts him back into a big market where he's able to bring his name, which has a certain level of credibility with the media, and that's also eye catching, and it's also soundbite worthy. That will help bolster the team and make some headlines, as they already have been doing. This just reinforces that. I agree with those people that say that a Jeff Green is probably, well, actually is a little more valuable, a lot more valuable than Blake Griffin. I think Blake Griffin, as great of a person as he is, right? I have nothing bad to say about him except that he played for the wrong LA team. Um, he seems like a solid guy. He's obviously chasing a ring right now. But will he be the missing piece that will solidify the Brooklyn Nets taking the East and ultimately taking the championship trophy? I don't think so. He's too injury prone. He doesn't have as much athleticism as he did before, which made him what many at the time thought made him great. I think he brings just a veteran presence that a lot of other players in the league respect, and with that respect may come a different sort of refreshing or refreshment when he comes onto the court. I don't think
Hmm.
Brooklyn gets any better from here, but you know, to be fair, Brooklyn's bench wasn't great to begin with.
Hmm.
So adding Blake, maybe it is a step up, and that's just because you weren't working with much to begin with, anyways. So I'll give him that. But to think that Blake is going to be the reason that you're going to make it all the way, that's laughable. Give him a Kia Soul. I don't need. That's all he needs. Let's see if he can jump it. Right?
Not even a Kia Optima. It's a Kia Soul now.
We got to give him the Kia Soul, man. Come on.
Oh man. Well, I tend to agree with a lot of your sentiments. I'll just say to play devil's advocate in favor of Blake, I think it's interesting when, you know, for most of your career, you're forced to be the number one option as he was on the Clippers. And then you kind of become the number two, number one option on the Pistons his first year. And then he just became like third option or
Well,
whatever.
yeah,
But,
yeah. They
you know,
realized why the Clippers were like, yeah, okay, sure, take him. Oh,
yeah.
and you're giving me this? Oh, we didn't even think that. Okay.
So I guess what I'm getting at is, for Blake Griffin, that must hurt, knowing that he was the guy for so long, from like high school to college to, NBA for several years, All
Sure.
Star even. Then he's just going down and down on the pecking order. But you can look at it with a silver lining because now, I hate to say it, but Blake may not even be the fourth option on the Nets. Think about it. Harden, KD, Kyrie.
Sure.
And you know what? I got to put Joe Harris in there in crunch time. Joe
Oh,
Harris
easily.
is one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA by percentage for sure.
Sure.
And so if you have those guys for a small ball 5 lineup, Blake can be the fifth option. And guess what? You're not going to double him ever. You're never going to double Blake Griffin. And that actually helps him. I think with all the attention that the big three draw, and Joe Harris draws by virtue of being a perimeter shooter, Blake Griffin can actually just play. He can be himself.
Sure.
He doesn't have to worry about the burden of playmaking or the burden of leading a team. He can just play freely.
Yeah, and on that notion, that means that by default, he'll get the fourth or fifth best defender on the court to size him up, which is gonna make things a lot easier for him, I think. But his body has so much wear and tear that it's to the point of crumbling. This has now become probably his last real shot of contributing to a team. Other than that, I don't even know. Did they pay him for what? Just till the end of the year? I don't even know the terms of the deal.
Well, my understanding is since Blake was bought out,
sure,
he had to take a pay cut. Like they paid out, I think most of his contract.
Yeah, and then he signed for 1.2, from what I remember.
Yeah, he signed for the veterans minimum with the Brooklyn Nets,
and that lasts through the end of the year.
Yeah, just the season, season.
Well then, yeah, it's pretty much this is his final his final attempt at what could possibly be his final year of relevance. Because, if Brooklyn doesn't make it all the way, by Blake, you'll probably be one of the reasons that Brooklyn blames their loss on.
No, I don't know. I think Blake is in a unique position because, like you said, he's a shell of his former self. So obviously the expectation isn't that high. And I think if Brooklyn fails, and in my opinion, failure is not necessarily losing in the finals. I think if you make the finals, that's success for Brooklyn. If you don't make the finals, and let's say you lose embarrassingly in the second round, which would probably be the worst case for them realistically, the onus would not be on Blake at all. I think the burden of dealing with all that would be on Harden, would be on Kyrie and KD. I think you have to put all the blame on the big three because this is what they wanted to do.
But can you? Can you though? I don't think it would be wise for Brooklyn to do that because all three of those personalities are fragile compared to other stars.
Well, hold on a second though. It's not necessarily that Brooklyn will put the blame on them. The world will put the blame on them.
Okay.
And I think you'd agree. Like, when you
definitely
have a superstar trio like that and they can't get the job done, you have to ask the same question that LeBron James has been asking like all this time. How much help does he need, right? How much help do these players need? They have, LeBron had Kyrie, LeBron had Kevin Love, and he was asking for more. So now it's like, okay, if with this trio, which a lot of people have been saying from the beginning, is maybe the best dynamic offensive trio ever assembled in the NBA for a regular season team. If that's the case, you should at least make the finals. It's not like anybody else in the East comes close to you offensively
currently,
but currently, and I think we will see what happens with Brooklyn. I just hope that COVID and injuries don't get in the way because whenever you assemble a super team like this, I think fans like you and me want to see them get tested and not tested when they're like half empty, not tested when Harden's out or when Kyrie's out. I want them tested with everybody healthy to really see what they're made of.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if all goes as planned, we will see a Brooklyn Nets versus Los Angeles Lakers finals in 2021. That would be fantastic.
I think so. We will see. Brooklyn has a lot of holes, and they're trying to patch it up. There may be more names that get added in, but time will tell the king still reigns, and we're currently hobbling to the postseason, but we will for sure damn make it, and I don't see anybody in the West truly stopping us.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of hubris that happens with Laker fans. It always has, including myself. And
Oh yeah, man. Even when we had off years, 8th seed. Fuck yeah, we got this. This is our year. Right?
No, absolutely. Like, oh, you mean we're down against the Phoenix Suns? We got Kobe. We'll
Wait,
be all right.
3-0? We got this. No big deal.
So, Laker fans always feel this tremendous sense of pride and this.
Oh, we have to. It comes with
Yeah.
being a Laker fan. We expect nothing but a championship.
But to be
And
quite frank, I think you and I are probably more even keeled than that. I don't think we're
I
the average Laker fan.
sure, but I'm saying even at the end of the day, when they do lose and they don't make that championship, it still irks us a bit. We get that itch in the back of the head that you can't really quite scratch. It's one of those moments, and I think that is super important just as a fan, that you, especially for such a highly regarded franchise, we have to have those expectations. We're not a mid-level team. We're not a small market team. We are in arguably the second biggest market, because I think New York has the biggest market.
Yeah, I
in
mean
the
we're
NBA.
always top two.
Yeah, it's like one of those, you have to. This is why we wear championship gold. It's why we wear royal purple. Like like this is the reason.
Meghan Markle colors.
Yin Yang. Yeah, we'll be going against the Yin Yang. We're gonna show them who the real Yin Yang is right there. That's what's up.
There you go. But I think you're right. Sometimes teams may be missing pieces. They may be looking for something that's out there, and sometimes you find a piece that you weren't expecting to find, which is exactly what happened in the episode 9 of Cowboy Bebop, called Jamming with Edward. And of course, Don, you know what to do whenever we start talking about Cowboy Bebop. So go ahead and drop that beat.
Are we doomed to a cold and heartless future in which computer says yes or computer says no, with the grim finality of an emperor in the arena?
Emperor in the arena.
So, episode 9 of Cowboy Bebop, Jamming with Edward, was it's kind of a unique episode. I didn't know what to think of it at first when I was watching it. It seemed like a very random. Essentially, what happens is, it starts off with this satellite or a series of satellites kind of working together to engrave with firing lasers onto the Earth's surface these shapes, these designs, and they're essentially carvings of different animals. Um, and it's very strange. Like it's almost like, wait, who's doing that? And you see, in parallel to all this young. How would you describe this character? What kind of adjectives would you use to describe this character?
This kid.
This kid.
Over energetic kid that seems to be very laissez-faire about how he goes about life, especially here on what could be a hellish Earth in the future. One that gets lost in technology but knows how to optimally utilize the technology to his benefit.
So it's interesting because clearly, as Don alluded to, Edward is some kind of a computer genius, if you will. Like he, I shouldn't say he. I don't think we know exactly,
Yeah, we've made that mistake before. Damn you, Cowboy Bebop.
yes, damn you, Cowboy Bebop. Shout out to the heavy metal queen, of course. Talking about Veronica. Forget her last name. If I remembered it,
Was
I
it
probably
Veronica or was it Victoria?
I guess I forgot the first name too, my friend.
V.
My
We'll call her
memory.
V.
VT, right? That's what all the cool kids call her, VT. So, Edward is clearly some kind of a computer hacker that has some notoriety. And Edward notices the bebop on, the radar. And Edward is able to somehow, lock onto the signal and kind of convince the bebop to go toward Earth to kind of investigate what's happening with these engravings. Is it something caused by a criminal, a human, an alien, or what? Um, and so as soon as the bebop crew, which is now of course featuring Spike, Jet, Faye, and Ein, the dog, short for Einstein, as soon as they realize that there's a 8 million Wulong bounty um, on basically whoever this culprit is that's engraving these animal etchings into the Earth's surface, they're all 100% on board. They're trying to find out who's doing it. So they do some, detective work. Jet goes off with Faye. I think they kind of split up a little bit and cover the Earth near the area where they think this is happening. And they learn about the myth, I should say, of Radical Edward, right? Some people think Edward is like a 6'9" basketball player, um, probably playing for the Brooklyn Nets. You know what I mean? And other people think, Edward is some, Hindu Swami, some guru that's just like spitting knowledge all the time about the earth and the world's travels. Nobody really knows what Radical Edward looks like. And I found that rather interesting. It's like here's this hacker, kind of like, in the real world, we have like Anonymous, right? We have all these different hacking groups that are faceless, but they do a lot of damage. And the legend of them, that they're capable of doing a lot. And so Radical Edward kind of encompasses all that. And along the way, we kind of learn more about Edward, and for the sake of this conversation, forgive me, my LGBTQ community. I'm just going to call him him just to make it a little bit easier to talk about. So this guy, Edward, he's been like, communicating with the artificial intelligence that's responsible for all of Earth's satellites. And from there, he kind of realizes, oh, it's not a human being that did all this. It's just this AI that kind of developed feelings and was kind of lonely. The AI itself was lonely. And so he just made himself friends. The carvings on the earth was friends. It was just shapes of animals that he remembers from his backlog of memories to make himself feel a little bit more welcome, to make himself feel like he has friends. And I think Edward was trying to be his friend as well. But along that time, you know, the police got involved, and obviously Spike caught wind of what's happening. Jet caught wind, and calamity, as usual, ensued. Calamity always seems to follow the Bebop crew, um, and then ultimately, they have to pull off this tremendous uh, space mission. You remember that when they had to get as close as possible to the actual
Yes.
satellite.
Yep.
And what did they have to do? I was trying to remember.
So they had to get close because
Yeah.
there was some sort of missile protection system that all the
Mm.
satellites had, where if you got too close to a particular satellite, the others would basically home in on where you were and proceed to shoot you down. So I believe that Spike, I forget, I believe Jet told him, but Spike had to basically turn off all electrical communication, or any electrical feedback that his spacecraft would give, and sort of float on to within a certain amount of feet to destroy what was causing all the problems.
Mm. Here's the one thing that I found kind of interesting. Did Jet, Faye, and Spike really believe that by quote unquote capturing this MPU, as Edward called it, the artificial intelligence, they could actually get a bounty? I mean, I think a rationally minded person, a reasonable thinker would think, oh, if it's just a computer program that's doing it, if it's just artificial intelligence, obviously I would get no money for it.
Sure.
It's just a matter of shutting it off. Like, it's not like the police will give you any money, which we later on figure out is exactly what happened. I mean, they did all this work, as Don described. They got close. They pretty much shot up all the different missile defenses, and they made a copy of the MPU. They brought it to the police station. They're like, you know what? We can't do anything with this. It's against the law to pay money for anything that's just robotic or whatever. So they ended up getting nothing. They were about to dip, of course, as they usually do, and move on to the next one. But then, we have Radical Edward still on Earth, and he made some kind of a deal with Faye. I think Faye promised him that, hey, if you help us out with this, we'll do a favor for you and anything. And obviously, you know how Faye is. Faye was never intending to keep this promise. Faye was just going to say, okay, fuck off, kid, and just, fly off in the bebop. But Radical Edward, being the hacker that he is, navigates the bebop back toward Earth, back toward him. And he, for better or for worse, joins the crew. And I thought it was so cool, so telling, of course, how Spike kind of summed it up at the end. Like, Jet, there are three things that I hate in life. Annoying women, children, and pets and dogs. Right now, tell me, why are all three in our ship at the same time? And I just thought, wow, this really captures who Spike is. He says outwardly he hates all these things, but I have a feeling he's developing a soft spot for Faye. He's developing a soft spot for Ian, and I think he'll grow to actually like and appreciate everything that Radical Edward brings to the table. So, the question I put to you, Don, is this: what role do you think Radical Edward will play with the Bebop crew?
Well, he's electronics extraordinaire. I think if he's able to basically get the Bebop to turn around against everyone's will on the ship, he's more than capable of doing other things. He was able to communicate with AI. He was able to, literally surf the web with his technology. I think his capabilities when it comes to all things and all hackerisms, I don't know if I made that word up, but it sounds good, are going to be so priceless for this world that's been created in Cowboy Bebop that he is going to play a very pivotal role. What I foresee happening, especially because you brought up the whole thing where Jet hates these three things. Spike. Drams. Many drams. We may see Spike lose these hated things and realize how much he actually loves them and needs them in his life. I think Radical Edward is a joy to be around. Annoying, for sure, but no kid is perfect, and they are kids nonetheless. But what he brings to the table is something that nobody else on the Bebop has. So hopefully he could contribute something more, so that way they don't have to be eating bell peppers with no beef in the future.
I hope so, and I look forward to seeing what happens with Radical Edward. And one thing I'll mention about this episode before we sign off, I think one thing that's very common, like a common theme in this particular episode, is loneliness. Loneliness from two different perspectives. Obviously, the artificial intelligence was lonely, so lonely, in fact, that it wanted to create friends for himself. Spike understood that very easily when they were kind of analyzing what was going on, and they figured out that, oh, this was actually done by AI, not a human. Spike easily understood that, yeah, I mean, he's been lonely for that long. Why not make yourself some friends? And then another perspective of loneliness comes from Edward himself, or, to give them equal time, let's say Edward herself from now on for the rest of the podcast. So she did something interesting. I think she was purposely scanning through all the radio frequencies, looking for any kind of ship with human life on it, so Edward could be taken off the planet Earth and join them. I don't know if she was hoping to find a gang of bounty hunters. It was probably just happenstance more than anything. But it is interesting how the primary motivation for Radical Edward was to seek company, right? Was to seek a group of people to take her off of this desolate, barren wasteland that we affectionately call Earth. And that's happening at the same time as, Faye, who's more or less a loner, has found this new family, so to speak. She's found Jet, she's found Ein and Spike. Spike and Jet, in some ways, before they found each other on the Bebop, they were also a bit of a loner. I don't think they had many ties. They cut off ties that they once had. Spike, especially with the Red Dragon crew, and Jet, you already know, he barely talks about his past. And I find it very interesting that loneliness brings these characters together, even when they don't want to be together, right? They're not really looking specifically for each other, but they found each other. And it is going to be very interesting to see if they can actually do something special together. Maybe pull off the biggest heist ever, Ocean's 11 status, or just become an extended family of sorts that genuinely deeply cares about each other. So, welcome aboard, Radical Edward. We look forward to finding out for sure if you are male or female, as well as to see what your contributions are to the crew. We wish you nothing but the best, and of course, before we sign off, let's just go ahead and wish Tony Dawson another happy birthday. I think, more than anything, this episode is dedicated to him. It is probably past his birthday already because he's on the East Coast, but when he eventually listens to this, hopefully he enjoys all the shout outs we gave him throughout the podcast. So happy birthday again, Tony.